you guys are invited, sisters are invited to sit in the back. The back musalla is open for you. So the brothers who are in the back, just a heads up for your caution. So yeah, the sisters, they can move on to the back musalla. We're fortunate as Tucson, as a community, to have checked out the Bayan with us tonight. Check out the Bayan from Vietnam. I studied in Islamic University of Medina and did extensive studies there. And I went back to Vietnam to be the director and teacher for an organization in Vietnam, charity organization. Right now he currently resides in Seattle, Washington. He's the Imam at Muslimin in Seattle, Washington. And he's also an al-Maghrib instructor. He's Allah blessed us with the opportunity to have him tonight. So inshallah, I'm going to present it to him. That's what I told
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, it's nice to be here with nice weather. I think for the last 2 months in Seattle, you've seen the sun twice. But I hear the rain is on its way over here, so well, I guess I'll have to go back to the rain anyways. But what is the most difficult hadith to apply? If I ask you that question, knowing all that hadith that you've heard, what is the most difficult one to really to apply and feel that you have given it right? Maybe some of us have thought about it, probably most of us haven't thought about it. But one of the most difficult things to do is to really keep a balance in this life and hereafter, with all the problems that we have, family problems, and school, and all kinds of things. One of the most difficult things is really to be balanced. And that's why when we ask, I remember asking we asked, what's the most difficult to apply? He responded, he said, with that which the Prophet ﷺ told him when he didn't take, his wife was not taking care of herself properly, and Salman al-Farisi came to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, told him of his prayers, his fasting, he would pray at night time, and then he would spend his daytime fasting. When he asked his wife why she did not adorn herself for her husband, he said, because that does not need us. He does not need me. He has no need for this. There's no point in me adorning myself. So Salman al-Farisi, he was partnered with that. This was a partnership where the brotherhood of the Prophet established in Medina. And this is also not just to help us financially, also to remind each other also. So he knew that there's something wrong. So he went and informed the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ said to them, إِنَّ لِرَبِّكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقًّا وَإِنَّ لِأَهْلِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقًّا وَإِنَّ لِنَفْسِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقًّا فَأَعْطِ كُلِّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقًّا. He said, indeed, you yourself, Allah, your Lord has a right upon you. And your family, they have a right upon you also. And you yourself have a right upon yourself. So give each entity that is deserving of right, its right. So each one that deserves a right should give him his right. So that's why sometimes we get confused. We don't know what to do, and it seems like the world is falling apart. And we don't really know what to focus on. And we don't know where to start, to put everything back together, because it seems like everything's falling apart. And a lot of the times it's because we don't really, think about some of the things that we're concerned about. Sometimes, because there's two types of concern. You're concerned about worldly matters, or you're concerned about the hereafter. And sometimes, if a person is not focused on the correct, proper things, their life becomes a pile of mess, just a mess everywhere. So, when you ask people, why are you here? Why are you here? It's a very, very simple question. Why were you created? What are you doing? What are you doing here? And if you can't answer that question, then your life is going to be a mess. If you cannot answer that question, your life is going to be a mess. It's like if you're playing soccer or basketball, whatever sport you may have, right? Hockey, basketball, soccer. If you were to take the goals out and then tell go play soccer, would you have a game? You wouldn't. There's people just running around in circles, passing this guy with no purpose. There would be no winners, there's no purpose, everyone's just running around. If you took the goals, there wouldn't be a game. And so, in life, a lot of people are running around in circles. They don't even know why they're here, what they're doing here. And they might feel like, hey, you know what? I think this is the purpose. But it's just like that soccer game. The purpose of the soccer game isn't just to pass. You don't get any points. You don't win just by passing. Okay, I'm going to just pass it like that. Yeah, I did it. So they don't really know the goal. So they're running, a lot of people are running around it. And a lot of times you have family, you have school, you have parents, and to take care of, to listen to, what do you do? All kinds, there's so many things that are going on. You might be confused. You don't know what to do. In this world, especially in this world, when a person is not focused, they don't really know what they're doing, then you'll see that their life becomes a mess. They start chasing after this and chasing after that. And it never ends, and all of a sudden that comes to itself. And then you start seeing the reality in the hits. So what is that purpose? First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created mankind with wisdom. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ I have not created the jinn and mankind except for my worship. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship. But what is that worship? A lot of people, they think, oh, it's just prayer and zakat and stuff. But the term worship is more broad than that. It encompasses everything that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you have feelings of love towards your parents, that feeling itself of hoping in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that itself is worship. And there's sometimes there are words that you say, that's also worship. And actions that you do with your lips, that's also worship. Whatever you do that's pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's worship. And that is why we as Muslims, we can be at a state of worship 24 hours a day. If we have the right intentions, every step that you take, before you take it, you ask yourself, is Allah going to be pleased with me if I do this? Then you should do such actions, or you should stay away from those actions. And if your whole life is like that, then you're in the state of worship. Because everything that you're doing is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you're checking to see if it's pleasing to Allah or not. And that's pretty much what worship is. And so when you're focused on the right things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of everything. You'll see everything coming into place. And so if you feel that the world is falling apart, remember this hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من كان همه الآخرة جمع الله شأنه وجعل غناه في قلبه وأتته الدنيا وهي باطلة. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whoever is concerned is the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will join his affairs. And He will put ghina, meaning your self-sufficiency. You feel self-sufficient, you feel pleased in your heart. You'll be pleased inside. The dunya will come whether He wants it or not. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of it. Take care of it. You're focused on the hereafter. When you're focused on the hereafter, you start to see reality. And also the problems that occur, little problems that you might think are really big, they become very small. And that's why the Prophet said, وَمَا كَانَتْ نِيَّتُ الدُّنْيَا. Whoever's focus is solely on dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will disperse His affairs, all the things that He's looking for. He disperses it, which makes you busy in all kinds of matters. You're never going to finish. All your affairs are all going to be dispersed all over the planet, everywhere, all over the place. And poverty will be back everywhere. The only thing you do, whatever you're doing, you're always going to be afraid of poverty. I'm going to be poor, I have to do this and that. That will be your main concern and your worry. And وَلَمْ يَأْتِهِ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَا كُتِبَ لَهُ. And there's nothing that will come from the dunya except for that which is already written for it. And so this is a very, very important hadith, especially concerning when we're thinking about the dunya and hereafter. Of course, a smart person will use this dunya. It's very short, but at the same time, it's very important because it will determine your success in this life and the hereafter. Because this is the time in which we build our akhirah. It's in this dunya. This is the time in which you plant your trees in the garden of paradise. This is where you build your house in the garden of paradise. And this is where we furnish our akhirah. And that's why this is the time for deeds. And that's why Ali ibn Talib radiallahu anhu said, "Irtahal ad-dunya muthi'ah." The dunya is going away. Like all of us, every day, every single day, we are 60 seconds. We're going at 60 seconds. We're closer to our death every single day. Every single day. The life, the time that we have in this world decreases. We're that much closer to our death. But at the same time, we don't know where that ends. It can end at any time. What was that? And the hereafter is coming towards us. So we're all on the journey, and the hereafter is there. We're headed towards the hereafter. And every group, Ali ibn Talib said, and the children, every one of them, the hereafter in this worldly life, there are children. There are children of the hereafter, and there are children of this life. فَقُولُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الْآخِرَةِ. Now be amongst the children of the hereafter. وَلَا تَقُولُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الدُّنْيَا. Do not be amongst the children of the dunya. فَإِنَّ الْيَوْمَ عَمَلٌ. Well, indeed today is the day in which we do our deeds. وَلَا حِسَابٌ. There's no reckoning. And then the hereafter, the hereafter is hisab, is reckoning, and no one needs. So this is the time which we do it, when we put together and do our deeds. And so, first of all, what are we concerned about in our daily lives? What do we do? Ask ourselves right now. So you find out whether you are amongst the children of the hereafter or amongst the children of this life, of the dunya. Ask yourself, what do you think about before you go to sleep? What do you think about before you go to sleep? What do you think about when you pray? What makes you sad? What makes you happy? What makes you angry? What are your goals? What do you ask for in your sujood? What kind of spouse are you looking for? What kind of friends do you hang around with? Like, ask yourself, what are you looking for? And if you were to, would you be embarrassed to show people your search history on Google? Would you feel okay if everybody saw that? That's who you are. That's who you are. That's what you're concerned about. That's what you're concerned about. That's what you're thinking about. So are you amongst those of the children of the hereafter, or the children of Islam? And thus, when we ask, when you give an answer to this question, then ask yourself, if you were in front of, if the hellfire is in front of you, and you're in that sirat. That sirat is that bridge over Jahannam that you cross. Some people will cross it like in a flash. Right? Some people will cross it in a flash. Others will cross it like a person who's riding a steed in a fast horse. Others will go cross it, and some will fall and be grabbed by the hooks that come from the side and then fall. How fast will you go if you are there? How fast? It is not based upon your acrobatic abilities. Just because you work for the circus does not mean you're going to cross the castle. No. It will be based upon your deeds. And how? It will also be based upon how you respond to Allah and His Messenger. The faster you are in responding to Allah and His Messenger and sending your deeds, you're going to cross. And vice versa. So everybody right now, if you're in front of the sirat, check yourself right now. When it's time to pray, are you looking forward to it? Or are you looking forward to finishing the prayer? Are you looking forward to the prayer? Or are you always delaying when prayer time comes? Which takes precedence in your life? And so these are the things that affect our hereafter. And when we think about this worldly life, the whole world, this life is a test for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in to test us, to see how our deeds are. And so, when a person is concerned about, whatever you're concerned about, when you're concerned about the hereafter, everything that bothers you, and every little thing that bothers maybe other people, it will not bother you so much. Let me give you an example. Imagine yourself in this masjid. You're sitting down waiting for prayer. And three people come in, a father and two young kids. The father and two young kids walk into the masjid. And you're just sitting there. And all of a sudden you see the two children playing chase and they're running around in the masjid. That father goes in the back of the masjid, sits down, and he just sits there as if nothing is happening. His children are running around people. In fact, they're actually slapping people who are reading the Quran in the head. And so when you're looking, when you're seeing this whole scene, how do you feel? Who are you angry at? Are you irritated? Definitely. But you're looking at the father, and the father sees all of this. He knows his children are doing this, they're doing it right in front of his eyes. But he's not doing anything. I'm pretty sure everyone in the masjid at that time is probably looking at that father. Why isn't he doing anything? This is not the place, this is not the playground here. So you had enough. So you get up and you go straight to the father. And you say, excuse me, please, and everybody's watching, right? Would you please take care of the children? And so he goes like this, and he looks at me and he says, I'm sorry, I really apologize. We just came from the hospital. Your mother just passed away. How do you feel? At that moment, before that you were really irritated, very angry. But as soon as he said that, how do you feel? You no longer are angry at him. And the children that are running around, you'll probably hug them, forgive them. You feel sorry for them because they don't know what has just happened. They will no longer see their mother. At the same time, they're still running around. They don't even know the severity of the situation. So when a person is thinking about the hereafter, that's why the Prophet said, whoever is concerned about the hereafter, all the little things that you think are big, they don't irritate you. They don't bother you. They don't faze you. That's why you must be the strongest person. And determined, because all the little things don't faze you. Just like right before that you were very angry, but when you think about that, now it's a difference. Nothing has changed. Physically, the children are still running around. And that man still hasn't said anything to his children. But you're no longer angry at them. Because you're thinking about something bigger. Something greater. So that's why sometimes, I have children. I have 3 sons. And sometimes I go to the store and I find out there are some Hot Wheels that are on sale. These are the bigger type Hot Wheels. They have the small ones and the bigger car, right? And then they're on sale, it's on sale. Let me get some for the kids, they'll be happy. So what I do, I end up choosing a Ferrari, a Hummer, and I think it was, something like a Porsche or something. Anyways. Ferrari, Hummer, and a Porsche. Okay? Why? I could have chosen just all Ferraris, all Porsche, whatever it is, all the same. But you're thinking, hey, come on, if you're going to buy 3, right, you have to adjust them at the same time, it'd be wasteful to buy the exact same car. That's what I'm thinking, right? Might as well just get 3 different types, variety. Better than having the exact same thing. I can get the exact same thing easily. So I come home, right? And as I got each one into a car, so the eldest would come to takes the car. Takes the Ferrari. Okay. Then the youngest one comes and takes the Porsche. So the only thing that's left for the youngest one, or the middle one takes the Porsche, the only thing left is this ugly boxcar. It's a Hummer, right? It's pretty ugly. I don't know what to do. You understand? People like it because, hey, it's expensive and it's supposed to be this and that. But it's pretty ugly, right? Went to a child. And he sees the Porsche and the Ferrari. Even if the Hummer might be more expensive than the Porsche or something, or anything, but still, I'm like, it's pretty ugly for him. So the youngest one sees the car, the Hummer, and he knows what's gone before. So he doesn't want the Hummer. So he's crying. And so I'm knocking. So right when he starts to cry, the other 2, they go straight to their rooms. They know what's coming up, right? They know what's coming up. They take their car, their Hot Wheels, and they go to their rooms and they lock the door. Immediately they lock the door. That's it. They unlock the doors, and they're in there. The doors are locked, and now the youngest one is crying. And I'm trying to, I was like, it's okay to play with it. Your brother for a few minutes to let you play. He goes, no, I want this, I want that. He says, I want the red Ferrari. And I go up and knock on the door, my eldest son. And he's like, nobody's home. He knows what's going on because he hears his brother crying. I said, would you just, trade in, just give your brother, just for 15 minutes? He goes, but I got it first. I got the Ferrari first. And so this is what, of course, this one, 7, 6, 7, 5, and so forth, 3. And so The little one is crying. And everybody wants this. Wants that the portrait of bride. The little one's crying. And I'm looking at him. I said, don't worry about it. And then your brother, they're going to give all three of you can play for all three. And I told him, it's 15 minutes, okay. But then he's crying. But the way he's crying is like, it's as if it's the end of the world. When his grandfather passed away, he didn't cry like that. But now it's like, to him, he's crying as if it's the end of the world. So I'm looking at him. I'm thinking, it's only the heart we are. Right? It's only a heart. And so the things that are happening to us right now, maybe we're crying over this and over that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's only a heart now. Right? Some of the other things we make it look so big. We magnify it so much. Now, these are just the little tests in this world. Or the person's main concern in this world. They end up, all you see them end up is worrying about this, worrying about that. And they never find peace of mind. Because once you have iman, the more iman you have, the higher your iman is. It's like a plane ride. When the plane is taking off and you're looking down, the higher you go, the smaller everything becomes. The higher you go, the smaller everything becomes. And so all of the other things that phase or that cause a lot of concerns, they don't concern you so much. Because you know the important, you know what's important, what's not important. And you're the greater, when you think about the hereafter, when your greater concern, when your main concern is the hereafter, the worldly problems of this life become minute. They become minute. And so, when a person lives in this way, as I mentioned, it's just a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us with poverty. And sometimes He tests us with prosperity. And they're both tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we hear in the news our brothers are suffering here, suffering there, at that moment, we're also being tested. They are tested with poverty, with affliction, calamities, and we're tested with our prosperity. But sometimes, the test of poverty is easier than the test of prosperity. Because a person who's in a state of hardship, that person is more likely to return to Allah than one who is in prosperity. But at the same time, that person also is being tested. And so, Allah is testing us. Every time there's a need, or in a masjid, for example, a need to help, to give, to donate, you might say, especially during Ramadan, right? After Tarawih prayer, there's a fundraiser. Somebody gets up and asks, we need to help brothers and sisters in Somalia. And then next time, we need to help brothers and sisters in Bangladesh. Then we have a school. We have a school to support. The next day, or next week, it's for the expansion of the masjid. For this person and that person, this organization and that organization. And then you ask yourself, I already gave twice last week. And then 3 more people this week have asked, who do I give to? When does it stop? Right? You might ask yourself, when does it stop? And some people might get tired of that. Right? But every single time they're being tested. So who do you give to anyways? By the way, who do you give to? Who do you give to? Let me give you the answer. It's in the Quran. Who do you give to? And do you give or not? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And from that which we have provided for them, they spend. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the people of paradise, and one of the descriptions is, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي الصَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ. Those who spend in times of hardship and ease. So that's your answer. You continue to give, as long as Allah is still giving to you, you still give. As long as you still have money in the bank, you still give, Allah will give you more. As long as you still have money in your pocket, you still give. It never stops, yes, it's a test for you. Just like the other brothers are not, the test didn't end with them. They didn't end yet. It did not end yet. And they don't control that either. When it ends and when it starts. So when somebody's asking for help, give them help. It's a test. And every single time you give, no matter how big or small or little that you may have, every single time, do not belittle. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Don't ever belittle good deed. Even if you were to meet your brother, smile, but be morning. Just that. So imagine, every single deed, you could enter Jannah as a result. Because you don't enter Jannah with your deeds. You enter Jannah with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jannah is too great. It's too great for you to earn it with your deeds. It's only by the mercy of Allah that we enter Jannah. And that's why every single time you try to earn the mercy of Allah, maybe this is it. This act will earn the mercy of Allah. Because the Prophet ﷺ informed us of a man. In another narration, a woman who was a prostitute. She went into a well to drink, and she was quenched. She came out of the well, and she saw that there was a dog that was licking the area around the well. And she said, you know, this dog is just as thirsty as I was before I went into that well. And so she went back to the well, filled up her coat, her leather socks, and she gave water to the dog. She gave this water to this dog, and as a result, Allah forgave her. Another narration, Allah entered the Jannah. As a result. You know, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, they said, not every prostitute that gives water to a dog will enter Jannah. Not every prostitute that gives water to a dog will enter Jannah. What's the difference between this person and everybody else who gives water to a dog? The difference is it's in the heart. Allah saw that. The kindness, the mercy that's in the person's heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy upon many people. So make at any time, no matter how little you think when you're contribute as much as you can, whenever you can, however you can. Every single deed might be that which takes you to God. So don't belittle a thing. And whenever you are put in position to be at the service of Islam and the Muslims, don't ever look at it as a burden. It's not a burden. It's a great blessing. And that's why Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he heard from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam concerning the hijrah, he said, permission has been given. Permission has been given. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he said, O Messenger of Allah, as-suhba, as-suhba. Companionship, companionship. He wanted to accompany the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said companionship, as-suhba, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu broke down and cried. And these were tears of happiness. Why was he so happy when this is not a vacation, it's a dangerous trip? People are going to look to kill you. Why? Because being at the service of Islam and Muslims is a great blessing. It's not a burden. When Allah chooses you to be at the service of Islam and Muslims, be thankful to Allah. Be thankful to Allah because He doesn't allow anyone to be at the service of Islam and Muslims. And if you're thankful to Allah, Allah will increase it for you. He will increase your blessings. He will bless the time that you have. He will bless the wealth that you have. will bless you and your family. And then that's when you find peace and happiness. Because peace and happiness can only be found in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, when a person is wealthy, especially in this world, yes, it's not an indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that person. The indication that Allah loves the person is He gives him the understanding of His deen. And when the person understands His deen, that's why the Prophet said, whomsoever Allah wants goodness for, He makes him understand His deen. And a person who understands his deen knows what to do, how to do things, they know what they're concerned with. They know how to prioritize things. That's why in Islam, halal, haram, a scholar doesn't just know halal, haram, but real scholars know which of the two halals take priority and which of the harams are worse. That's the true understanding of the deen. And so, a lot of times, we think and we say, I don't have time for this and I don't have time for that. I just don't have time. Right? But the thing is, I want you to think about our society now. Okay? Our society right now, we have so many time-saving gadgets. The only thing we don't have is time. We have our cell phones, refrigerators, microwaves, everything that's supposed to save us time, but the only thing we don't have is time. Why? There's no blessing. But why? Because we don't understand our deen. You know what? I'm going to give you a idea. And if you apply it, you're going to save a lot of time and worries. A lot of time. And it's a very short idea, very simple. But this is part of Jawadi and the preciseness and conciseness with broad meaning, with so much wisdom. And that hadith is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, well, I'm going to get actually two hadiths, but I can put them together, they're similar. Okay? He says, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir, falyaqul khayran aw liyasmut." Whoever believes in Allah and His Messenger, then let him say good or bad. Save you a lot of worries. And save you a lot of worries. Especially because our times get us always in trouble. And another hadith, more broad than that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Min husn Islam tarkuhu ma la ya'lam." Part of the excellence of a person's Islam is he leaves that which is not concerned. Imagine all the time that we waste. I want you to look at all the time that we waste on the internet. For example, this person getting married, that person not getting married, this person have a girlfriend, a fake girlfriend, no girlfriend. Like all kinds of stuff, right? This person, this team winning, that team not winning. Does that, you might say, okay, because I lived in Tucson, it might concern me because, it's all a lot of things. Right? But does it really concern you? If you didn't know whether they won or not, does that benefit you or harm you this life? I remember, there was a time when I was cut off from all of this. After I graduated, I went to the villages. I lived in the villages of Bangla. No electricity. The only electricity they had they only had batteries that they would charge up in the daytime, and they would use that for lights or watch TV, because you couldn't watch too much doing TV. Maximum is an hour and a half and it dies. You gotta wait tomorrow and charge it up, unless the guy has to. But no electricity, no running water, you go to the bathroom. And so I'm really cut off. I live in Seattle, right? Where you have all this news, all sports, everything like that, that you might be thinking about reading about something. And I remember staying there. I had so much time. There was so much love, so much time that I would be able to teach the students in the morning after Fajr for 2 hours. And then we have breakfast. And I look at the clock. We've done so much, and it's only Saturday. Like I have a whole day now. And then I will teach, and then afterwards we have so much time. The thing is, we do have time. But we waste it on things that do not concern us. We waste it on things that don't concern us. Because we don't know what's important and what's not important in our lives. So you end up focusing on things that will not benefit. Information that doesn't benefit. In fact, this is called the information age. The information age. We have a lot of people with a lot of information, but where are the scholars? Where are the people with knowledge? Everybody has a little bit here and there. You end up actually not learning a lot. Believe it or not. Because you always feel that it's always there at the tip of your finger. You end up not memorizing things. You take it for granted. Just one example. Remember in the old days, before the cell phone? I remember, some of you may not, I remember that I used to know the phone number of all my relatives and all of my friends. You ask me a phone number. In fact, those phone numbers, even though they don't work anymore, I still remember them. And they may have moved, but I still, to this day, like my aunt's phone number, I still remember. But nowadays, somebody asks me, I remember I lost my phone. Actually, my phone died. My phone died. And I needed to call a brother who took off. He thought somebody else was picking me up. And then that brother thought he was picking me up, so I ended up being left behind. And I didn't know if their phone was. I had to take a taxi. And they were just probably 2 blocks away. But it's like these people are something very close to me. And I still could remember their phone number. Because it's just like, you think it's there so you don't memorize it. So you think, because you think, okay, if I need anything, I can always ask your boo. Right? And you end up not having this knowledge. So a lot of times, our focus, and the thing is we don't know what's important. So when you're focused on the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of all the other words. How? Listen to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. This hadith in Muslim Imam Ahmad and Sunan al-Tirmidhi and Sunan ibn Majah from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, hadith is sahih. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Ibn Adam, O son of Adam, the father of ibadati amla sadrak amina. He said, O son of Adam, devote yourself to my worship, and I will fill your heart, or fill your chest with a sense of peacefulness. Of ghina, that you feel that you're not needing anything, you're just feeling rich. There's a difference between being wealthy and you feeling that you have. A lot of times we focus on things we don't have. But we have so much blessings, we're so blessed. But we tend to focus on the things we don't have. But if you think about all the things that you have, then you'll be more pleased with you already have that by now. And the Prophet ﷺ said, وَأَسُدْ الْفَقْرِ, and I will prevent that poverty. I will plug up the poverty that you have. But if you do not do so, if you do not devote yourself to my worship, I will make you busy. I will make your hands will be busy. You start becoming busy. And at the same time, you will never feel like you have much. Always in need. And that's why if you look at the rich people who are super, super wealthy, extremely wealthy, they get to a point where they realize that money does not make a person happy. You get to a point where they feel, when you're giving back, when you're helping others, that's what makes a person happy. And you start to realize it. And that's why when you see that the movie stars, the sports stars, you'll see a lot of people, they maybe envy these people. But you'll see these are the people that have the most problems. These are the ones who go to rehab and out of rehab. They get married for 2 weeks and then divorce with it. They have so much problems. And then people, and all of a sudden you hear about this person committing suicide. They're on drugs. They're drinking. Because they're trying to find happiness. They're trying to find happiness. And trust me, the messenger of Allah said, if the son of Adam were to be given a diamond of gold, he would want to never die. We always say, inshallah, if Allah were to give me this much, I would devote myself to work. This is just a trick from the shaitan. You should devote yourself in worship no matter what your condition, what your state is. Because you are the son of Adam. So don't lie to yourself. And if you were to be given a valley of gold, you'd want another one. That's why you see all those rich people, they have a lot of money. And you were thinking, man, if he could just retire and take your expense normal, like a normal person, he would never have to work again. But they still want more. They still want more. And there's nothing that will fill that person's desire except for the dirt. That's the only thing. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ said. And so don't make that as an excuse. Don't make that as an excuse. And by the way, a lot of people, they think this worldly life, living in this worldly life, they think that being a Muslim, you are always going to be, lowly and destitute and so forth. And they have a hadith, one hadith in Sahih Muslim, from there, reported by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, said that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannat." This worldly life is a prison for the believers and a paradise for the disbeliever. And when they read that hadith, and they say, well, we just have to be really poor, yes, but that's how we are. That's how Muslims are. Right? No, that's not how it works. Muslims are at the top of the game also. The best Muslims, at the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they were very wealthy. I want you to look at Uthman ibn Affan. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. You know Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he brought all his wealth. He didn't leave any for his family. You might say, wait, is that permissible? It's not permissible for everybody. But for somebody like Abu Bakr, it was. Do you know why? Because as Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, كان أبو بكر أتجر قريش. Abu Bakr was the best of the merchants of Quraysh. The best. That's why he was able to free many slaves. When you're talking about freeing a slave, that's a lot of money. A slave during those days, it was like only a BMW. Only the rich people had them. So imagine, Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, for every day that he was a Muslim, he freed a slave. Can you buy a BMW every day in your life? But they were the best. Do you know why? Because they used their wealth, they knew how to use their wealth. They were thankful for it. And when you're thankful for something, Allah increases it for you. And if you're thankful for something, then you spend it in the obedience of Allah. If you're thankful for the help that you have, then spend your energy and help in the obedience of Allah. Spend your energy, your time in the obedience of Allah. And Allah will increase it. If you're thankful for the wealth that you have, then you spend it in the obedience of Allah. If you spend it in the obedience of Allah, Allah increases it. That's why every morning I look in the mirror and say, everybody is relaxed. Oh, Allah just as you have perfected my features also perfect my character. You thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu will increase it for you. Whatever you may have. A lot of the times we don't realize what a great blessing it is that we are in right now. just the health, just being healthy itself. Like right now, all of us here, alhamdulillah, we're able to come to the masjid, we're able to hear, understand and hear, we're healthy. That's such a great lesson that we don't even think about. That's why the Arabs, they have a saying that says, الصحة تاج على رؤوس الأصحاء على رؤوس الأصحاء لا يراه إلا الله. الصحة, health, is like a crown on the heads of all of those who are healthy. Nobody sees this crown except for those who are sick. Every one of us. It's such a great blessing. And that's why we don't realize how great this blessing is. And so, is it better to be rich and thankful or poor and patient? Some of the scholars said it's better to be poor and patient. Because they said, well, some of the proofs for that is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They say that the Prophet lived a very simple life. He did live a simple life. It was by choice. But they also have proof, I think it's in the Tirmidhi, which the Prophet said, that the poor people will enter paradise 500 years before the rich people. Hey, they're going to enter paradise first, it must be better, right? So, which one is better? Actually, the right answer is that a rich person who is thankful is better than a poor person who is patient. Why? Because one who is rich is, when a person is rich, his thankfulness benefits himself and he benefits other people also. And so, in this life, you're either in the states of thankfulness or the state of being patient. Thankfulness or patience. And a believer, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, in hadith from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says, "Ajib al-amr al-mu'min." The affair of the believer is very strange. Indeed, his affairs are always good for him. إِذَا أَصَابَتْ الصَّرَّاء شَكَرَ فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ وَإِذَا أَصَابَتْ الضَّرَّاء صَبَرَ فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ. If something good happens to him, he's thankful and it's good for him. If something bad happens to him, he is patient and it's good for him. وَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ أَجْرٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ. Nobody is in this state except for a believer. So a believer whose concern is the hereafter, who's worried, when we speak about your concern being the hereafter, it does not mean that you don't do any, you don't go to school, you don't do this and don't do that. No. When we say your concern is the hereafter, it doesn't mean you're going to be poor and end up with like a measly paying job. No. First of all, you as a believer, as a Muslim, whatever you're doing, whatever field you're choosing, whatever major you're choosing, you choose it based on what will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever you're doing, you do it to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you do your best in whatever you're doing. That's what we mean when we speak about your concern is the hereafter. You prioritize things correctly, but it doesn't mean you're going to be poor and destitute all the time, no. But if Allah tests you with that, then be firm. Then be firm and be strong. And that's why I remember the hadith that says, "Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir." That this world is a prison for the believers and a paradise for the disbelievers. Do you know what that means? Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah, is one of the greatest scholars in Islam. He was the one that put together, or that compiled Fath al-Bari, the commentary on Sahih Bukhari. And so, he was a great scholar. He came by, he was walking with a lot of his students were with him. He had thousands of students. A Jew, this was in Egypt, was there. And this Jew was a very poor Jew with tattered clothing and everything. He walked by him. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani walked by him. He said, "You're a friend of mine. You're a friend of mine." He said, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani said to him, "Why did you say something?" He said, "Because your prophet, you claim that your prophet said, Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir. This worldly life is a prison for the disbeliever, or for a prison for the believer, and a paradise for the disbeliever." He said, "I'm a disbeliever. Why am I like this? Look at you. Nice clothing, all everybody respects you. I have nothing, look at you." Is this paradise? You call this paradise? Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was correct. You don't understand what he has to say. What it means is, you as a Jew right now, if you were to die in this state, you will enter the hellfire. And if you compare that to what you have now, this is your paradise. And that's for a believer, no matter how rich he may be, no matter how much you might think that he has, how much luxury he might be living in, in comparison to what he's going to get, this is a prison. It's a prison for him. So it doesn't mean you're going to live in destitute all the time. That's why the worship of Allah, one of the best ways to worship Allah, to worship Allah is also worshiping with the wealth that you have. So ask Allah to increase your wealth, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ni'mat malu salih fi yadi rajulin salih." How great is pure wealth in the hand of a pious person? Pure wealth in the hand of a pious person. A person who has wealth, but he's pious and he spends it in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's something that's very, very beneficial. And that's why, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he was very rich. And he said, one of the du'as that he made, he said, Allahumma inna al-faqr laysa li wa lastu al-faqr fa'aghnini bima shi'ta wa kayfa shi'ta. He said, oh Allah, be in poverty, you don't get a lot. I'm not for poverty, and poverty is not for me. Like, we don't get a lot. Be in poverty, you don't get a lot. So, yeah, Allah, poverty, some people, you know yourself, right? Some people, they can't handle wealth. Some people, they can't handle poverty. He says to himself, yeah, Allah, be in poverty, you don't get a lot. So, enrich me with however you will, with whatever you will. Enrich me with however you will, with however you will. We don't get a lot. Enrich me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala poured an abundance of wealth, but the thing is, he spent it in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah continued to increase it for them. So if you're thankful for something, then spend it in the obedience of Allah. Spend it in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have to understand that Allah will test us. And the tests will come. How you pass these tests will determine, or how you deal with these things, the choices that you make, will determine what you will have in this life and the hereafter. And so, the time that you have, spend it in this world. It's very important. Spend it in something that will outlast your life. Spend it in something that will outlast your life. Work to make sure that your deeds will outlast your life. And then your deeds will continue even after you pass away. So look for sadaqah. And look, and do not make an excuse to say, what I'm doing now will not make a difference. No. Every little thing Allah knows, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will magnify when He sees the sincerity. You start it off and you do it. And every single deed that you do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and Allah gives you the reward on it based on the correctness of the deed and sincerity. And the greatness of sincerity. You might see a great deed, building large masajid and madaris, but if it's not sincere, it's worthless. In the sight of Allah, it will be worthless. But if you do it solely for the sake of Allah, even if it's a small amount of deed, if you consider it small, maybe you will enter Jannah as a result of that. And don't say that, I can't make a difference. I'm going to give you a hadith. In Muslim, hadith is Hasten. Acceptable. It's authentic. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا قَامَتِ السَّاعَةِ If the day of judgment, the hour which shall occur. Right now, the day of judgment, say, you're here, and the day of judgment is occurring. وَفِي يَدِ أَحْلِكُمْ فَصِيلًا And one of you has a fasila. Fasila is like a small, like a date plant tree or seedling. seedling that's coming up, right? فَإِنِ اسْتَطَاعَ أَلَّا تَقُومْ حَتَّى يَغْرِسَ فَلْيَغْرِسْ. If he is able to plant that seedling before the hour of judgment, before the end of the world, then let him do so. SubhanAllah. I want you to think about this hadith carefully. He puts the seedling on the ground. Alhamdulillah. What happens to the seedling after that? It's the day of judgment. It's destroyed. It's gone. Why do you put the seedling there? Why? It's not going to make a difference. You put it in. You plant it. It's gone. It's the day of judgment. Everything already destroyed. What's the point of this thing? The point here is that you have no excuse. You can't say, oh, I can't make a difference. Have high aspirations. And then be determined. And do it correctly. And then leave it to Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you this. He will give you the reward for it. Whether that seedling grows or not. We're going to give you the reward. The purpose is to do all that we can, as much as we can, as often as we can, as correct as we can. And so, make a difference. Instead of just being different, we have to make a difference. We're already different in this sense. We have to make a difference also, especially in the society that we are living in. Especially living as a minority. We have to stand out. We have to stand out in a good way. Then it won't matter what Fox, it won't matter what CNN says. You know why? Because if you're the best neighbor that you can be, you're the best classmate, you're the best co-worker, then no matter what people say about Islam and the Muslims, your actions and your impression on your colleagues and your non-Muslim friends will speak louder than that. You know, as they say, your actions speak so loud that I can't even hear what you're saying. They would not matter. All that CNN stuff, especially that Fox junk, if you block all that out by showing your character. So we as Muslims should be active in the community. We should be first supers. We should be there when the battle women need us. When there's a calamity, we should be there. We should be the face so that they'll know that, you know what? I know the Muslims. They're the most helpful. When people rejected me, they were there. And I know the Muslims. They're the best of neighbors. I have a Muslim neighbor. I have a Muslim neighbor. And I know what Fox is saying is not true. Because I know it's true. And we might know. And so we ourselves have to stand out. And when you stand out like that, then it gives you the opportunity to make that. To call people to that matter. Why? Because when they come to you for help and say, you know why? You know why I'm like this? Because that's what Islam orders us to. Let me tell you a little bit more about that. And then there's because you are the best neighbor. You are the best husband. You are the best co-worker. You are the best classmate. So whatever you're doing, be the best at what you're doing. And most people in this society right now, they won't read the Quran. The only Quran that they're going to see is what you embody. And that's the only Quran they're going to read. And so you have to live your life as the Prophet lived. كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. His khuluq was the Quran. And so, when we are here, especially with programs, you should contribute, you should help out, you should stand out in the community. And, you know, maybe some of these little things, this is what will happen, will help us. Because as I mentioned, we will not enter Jannah because of our deeds, but it's the mercy of Allah. So every single deed may earn the mercy of Allah. It's not the compilation of deeds and so forth. It's the mercy of Allah. And I know that there's a lot of, I have a bad reputation in Seattle. And they say, never give a woman a telephone or a stand-up Bengali microphone. And so, I don't want to, I don't want to prolong it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit us from that which the Prophet teaches, that which benefits us. Inshallah, maybe we can open up the floor for those who have any questions, concerns, and so forth. And what we've spoken about. So if you have no questions, I might ask. No, definitely when it comes to the hereafter, you should always compete. You should always put more. That's why Umar wanted to beat Abu Bakr. Remember, he wanted to beat Abu Bakr. But that's what we compete for the hereafter. We compete for the hereafter. And in that, and for the hereafter, let those who want to compete, let them compete. So that competition type of thing. But the thing is, you should not be jealous of the other person in the sense you want them not to have it. You want them, let's say you want them to fail. Like for example, let's say you have a Quran competition and somebody's reading and they're competing against you. You should never ever want them to make a mistake. There's the Quran. How could you want your brother to make a mistake reciting the Quran? Do you understand? You compete, you want to do much better than him, but you don't want him to be bad. You don't want him to make a mistake. So this is what we call difficult. You want something for him, but you don't want his to be destroyed. And that's why there are two people that we are allowed to have this halal jealousy for. And that those two people are those who have knowledge or know the Quran and they recite it day and night. And those who have wealth and they spend it day and night. When you see somebody like that, you want to be like that. In fact, that's who you should be. That's who you should be competing with. Some of us, we don't compete with those people. You say, well, at least I pray. Look at all the people don't pray. Like subhanAllah. Don't look at those guys. Look at the guys who are first in the line in the masjid. Then why do you compare yourself with those? But when it comes to the hereafter, when it comes to the dunya, that's a different matter. When it comes to the dunya, whatever Allah has given to them, of course you don't say, you should never look at somebody and say, wow, he's rich, and then you want something bad for him to happen. You want something, those types of things to happen. And this is society. This is very strange society. Another thing I forgot to mention is, in this society, one of the reasons why we don't have time, we don't have blessings in the time that we have and the wealth that we have, is because we buy things we don't need with money we don't have at a price we can't afford to impress people we don't even like. This society makes us do that. And so we're wasting our time. Like subhanAllah, like okay, remember the old days? The old days? Joe has a TV. He's the only one that has a TV in the neighborhood. Everyone goes there, right? Everyone goes and watches the TV in his house. And then now, right, you have the Super Bowl age, right? You got color TV. Oh, let's go to Richard's house. You got color TV, right? Nobody complained about. Everyone like, wow, TV. Look, you can actually see it's very clear. Right? Then, oh, it's color now. It's color. After color, you go to the house with the biggest, the biggest screen, right? But remember that old big screen? Like 20 people have to carry it. Right? And plus it's all blurry because, you're just like, it's all pixelated, or worse than that, right? Remember those days? My God, going there, like, God, he's got it, 47 inch or whatever it is, right? And then after that, you gotta have HD TV. It's all about HD TV. You can actually see the strand of grass. Like, what am I doing watching the strand of grass when I watch football? Like, what does that benefit? You understand? But you can actually see the grass, and you can see the dirt. Wow, that's like, come on. Okay, now that's different. Okay, no, forget it. We don't need to go to Richard's house. Let's go to Paul's house. Paul, he's got 3D TV. That grass and that dirt is flying out. Like, dude, right? It's not enough. But ask yourself, do you need it? Or do you want it? Let me tell you something, okay? Allah will always give you what you need. will always have a need. But sometimes there are needs or there are wants that are actually not, we call them needs, but they're not needs. We don't need them. You don't need 3D TV. Like, you know, think about it. A couple of years ago, right? Remember the days of Dawah? Right? You remember how slow that was? We're like, subhanAllah, almost 20 years, nobody complained. As soon as they got DSL, you got it. And then, you know, you never complain until the TV guy goes, is your internet slow? And then you have to do that sound, right? Now that you say it, that is pretty slow, right? Right? And then now you got 4G. Do you need it on your phone? Yeah, you gotta have it. Right? So I want you to think about it. Allah will always give you one. But next time you buy something, ask yourself, do you need it? So a lot of times when it comes to competing, they have a question for the hereafter. So for the first line, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you would know the reward of praying in the first line, you would actually, people would fight for you and you'd have to pick lots to determine the fate. And this is a great reward. To compete for this. When it comes to the dunya, we're living in a time, believe it or not, our mentality is different. Now, you know in the old days, people only bought what they needed, not what they wanted. Not everything. But with the TV and everything like that, we end up being brainwashed. And we think that we need these things, but you actually don't need them. And they have, you know, people who are professionals, those who are in advertising and so forth. Professionals at trying to buy things you don't need. Trust me. Don't you see all the, every time you try to get a phone, what do they try to get you to get? Yeah, right. What do? That's what you do. You got to get people to buy it, even though you know they don't need it. You got to sell it, and you got to make them feel like they need it, right? Especially when you go rent a car. How many things do they want to sell you like all the time? Well, no matter whatever you buy now, they're trying to give you stuff you don't need. Oh, would you like an insurance on that for 25 extra dollars? You know, it might break down. You know, all kinds of stuff, right? And so that's the society that we're living in. And so that also takes a lot of our concern.
In the Quran, it talks about the sabiqun, about the qarar, about Can you get some light how are these different? So that when you are setting a goal, where are you setting the goal?
Okay. So first of all, everyone of everyone is in its context. You can describe it from the context, from the description, the character, sensibility. Allah subhanahu mentions, of course, in many verses, every single one of them. We can spend the whole lecture on it. But in general, when we speak about how can we set our goals, and fix our goals. Number one, our goal should always be the highest level of prayer. You should never ever aim and say, Ya Allah, just enter me paradise no matter where, whichever level, doesn't matter, even the lowest. No. You ask for the highest because Allah can do it. And let me tell you, when you're making dua, you know what your dua should be? Your dua should encompass your goals. So what are you concerned about? Are you concerned about the hereafter? Are you making dua to alleviate, to have Allah alleviate you from the punishment of hellfire? Or are you making dua so that the arrow from the target, beat the What are you making dua? Do you understand? Sometimes when you set goals, set high goals. And you have to have, when you set high goals, let's say for example, if you're in school, if you're just aiming for a passing grade, just aiming for a passing grade, you're going to work differently. And by the way, if you aim for a passing, just aim for just a passing grade. What's more likely to happen? What's most likely to happen? Probably going to fail. Right? Because you're just aiming for 60s, lower 60s, you're going to fail. Something will happen and you're going to go under it. It's like the trajectory. When you shoot an arrow, right? It's like the target is right here. Where do you shoot? You pull it a bit higher, it goes down. So aim for the highest level of paradise, and even if you miss the highest, you get the second after that. Right? But you always ask Allah for the highest because Allah can. And you should have that for yourself and for your children. And it will affect how you behave with your expectations and your goals. You set high goals. That's why the Prophet said, when you ask for Jannah, ask for the highest level of Jannah. Ask for the highest, al-firdaus al-a'la. Because this is also, it's the middle and it's the highest level of paradise. And so, when we look at even our children, a lot of times we don't set high expectations for our children. And I'll give you a story. One of our children, he went to a city now. And in the city, everyone believed that if you were born on a Tuesday, you're going to be a noble. You're going to be a noble. If you're born on a Thursday, you're going to be somebody. And so they told the Sheikh this. The Sheikh said, no, it's not true. So they asked the Sheikh, why is this true, Sheikh? He said, no, it's not true. And he said, no, it's true. If you don't believe us, ask the people outside. Ask the people in the village, in the town. And so the Sheikh goes and asks. He asked the beggars, when were you born? Tuesday. Why? This one's ago. So he starts asking, 80% of the low class people, or you would consider low class, poor, destitute, beggars, and criminals, and so forth, they were born on Tuesday. 80%! And then he started to ask the leaders, the successful businessmen, and he taught of the society in the village. And he found out 80% of them also were born on Tuesday. So how did that happen? How did that happen? Do you know how it happened? Let me tell you how. A brother, let's say a family. Family they have two sons. One son is born on Tuesday. The other one born on Thursday. So the expectations are bigger. The son that's born on Tuesday or born on Thursday comes home on Saturday night at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, he comes home. His father says, son, why are you so late? What day were you born? Thursday. People are born on Thursdays. They don't go around playing on Saturday nights. They do their homework. And he goes, Father, let me die. I really apologize. Next time I won't come so late at 9 o'clock. It'll be late, but 6 o'clock I'll come. Not the latest, not spending the whole day. And making sure that I finish everything up and do all my things. Well, that same family has a son born on Tuesday. Now that Tuesday guy came home at 12 o'clock. Not 9 o'clock. 12 o'clock, he sneaks home. Then he comes home, sneaks to his room. The mother says, honey, are you going to say something to me? And so the father says, nah, born on Tuesday. So the expectations are different, and so they end up acting accordingly. So if you're looking for the highest level of paradise, and you're aiming for that, and you're making dua for that, then you're more likely to do well. If you're going to say, just enter in paradise. So that's why no matter what you do, when you're making dua to Allah, ask for the best. I mean, if you're going to ask Allah for a wife, might as well ask for the most beautiful thing. No, okay, alhamdulillah, good. Of course, piety, righteousness, alhamdulillah. Piety, righteousness, right? In character, we're going to put that in. Why not? Why not wealthy also? Why not? Ask. So if you're asking Allah, ask for the best. You know when Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was making dua for his family, they were in the desert, surrounded by barren mountains, not a single strand of grass. You know the mountains of Mecca in Arabia are not even like here. Here, at least you have some vegetation. There's no vegetation on some of those mountains. And you know he turns around. He's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when his family would Hajar and Ismail there. And what does he ask? He says, وَارْزُقْهُمْ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ. Ya Allah, provide them with fruits. Where are you going to get fruits? In Mecca? Where the progeny of Prophet Ibrahim are going to get fruits? There's not a single strand of grass. And he even mentioned that he wiped the lady in his heart. In his dua, he said, Ya Allah, I left them in a land with no vegetation. Ya Allah, but give them fruits. Where did they get fruits? Allah still gave. So when you go to Mecca, and it's not just him. From a long time, you can always find the best fruits in it. You find fruits that you can't even find in the United States. Because they're coming from Australia, they're coming from Egypt, coming from Syria, coming from India, Southeast Asia. When you go, when you go to those that make hike, go make hike. You see the fruit stands on the side, don't you see? And you're looking, where is this coming from? Well, I couldn't even get that in Arizona. I couldn't get that in California. Okay. You understand? When you make dua, ask for the best. When you set goals, set targets. And then you put your mind, be determined and go for it. Don't just settle for anything less than the best. A Muslim never settles for anything less than the best. Then you give me one example. I told you when I said everything you had. You give me another example. You know the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he was making hijrah from Mecca to Medina, you know his guide, Abdullah ibn Qurb, and they say Ulayka, it's the right pronunciation of Qurb. Abdullah ibn Qurb was a non-Muslim. For the most important journey in Islam, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam hired a non-Muslim as his guide. Do you know why? Were there Muslims who were not? Yes. There were. But there's a lesson here. The lesson is, when it comes to da'wah, when it comes to Islam, Islam deserves the best. Never settle for anything less than the best. Some look for quality. That's what Allah loves Ihsan. That's why sometimes we have da'wah projects. We have the da'wah projects, and then we make posters, right? If you have people who are specialists in that, and Muslims can do it, alhamdulillah, it's okay. Give them. But if you don't, it's okay to hire a non-Muslim. Even if you have to pay for it. To get quality, because Islam deserves the best. Islam deserves the best. Sometimes you look at some of these programs and you're looking around, then you look at the non-Muslims, mashallah, they're professional, they come to Muslim events. Whoa. None of that is fine. Then we say, well, because the brother can do it for free. Like, yes, he can do it for free, but he's a professional at it. You know, he can do it for free, but look at that. You're like, you know, especially when, you know, sometimes those who study design and stuff like that, they look at, whoa, like every rule is broken. And all the things that you do. But doesn't Islam deserve the best? If there is something, if there is anything that deserves the best, Islam. It's a quality, professionalism, excellence. Focus on those things in our da'wah, because it makes it.
Where you're talking about today in the football and where you're talking about now, it's all about like self-discipline on yourself. So do you have like any exercises that you can do self-discipline?
Okay, yes. Well, what can we do to discipline ourselves? The Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرَ الْأَعْمَالِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ. The best of deeds is that which is most consistent, even if it's small. If you want to be disciplined, and of course for us, your mind goes up and down, up and down. So how can you keep yourself strong? How can you keep yourself? One is consistency. Even if it's just a small amount. So every one of us, we should pick deeds. A small amount of deeds that we can do for the rest of your life and it becomes your character. But don't pick something nice. So much that you cannot do it consistently. Let's say, for example, let's say prayer. Say to yourself, from now on, I will pray in the masjid at least once every 3 days. Okay? This is minimum. I'm talking about minimum requirement. When you have more, you should pray more than that. But let's say, for example, 2 days you were so busy you didn't pray in the masjid. And then the third day comes, you miss all 4 prayers at Isha time. Then Isha time comes, and you say to yourself, Muhammad, there is never 3 days in your life that you have left. And there will never be 3 days that you never see the masjid. 3 days. So that no matter how tired you are, you go. And be consistent. And when it comes to Quran, the same way. When it comes to fasting, the same way. And this is what the companions did. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, from the day I heard from my Khalil, from my one and only love, my love is Khalil, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I've never left these 3 things. What are those 3 things? He said, number 1, 3 rak'ahs of witr prayer. Second, 2 rak'ahs after sunrise, the duha, after the sun has risen already. And then, number 3 days of fasting in a month. He did more than that most of the time. But there was never a month that he didn't fast at least 3 times. That's why some of us, we crash after Ramadan. Because we're not consistent. MashaAllah, we read the Quran a lot, then all of a sudden, 3-4 months, you never open it again. Why? Because you don't have that as part of your character. And so you have to choose deeds that you can be consistent with. Even a small amount, be consistent with it. For the rest of your life, choose daily deeds. And then monthly deeds, and some maybe bi-monthly or tri-monthly deeds. For example, let's say there's not a single month or 3 months that passes by, except I'm going to visit at least one sick person. Then you say, okay, 2 months have passed, this month is about to end, I'm going to go visit somebody who's sick. And so put that as your schedule. Just like when you want to have a successful business, you put a business plan, you want to enter Jannah, put your plan. And set your plan also. And that's the thing is you have to know if you want to be consistent for a certain amount, and then you add more. Let's say, okay, I'm not going to read, there's not a single day in my life except I'm going to read half a page of the Quran. So if you're consistent with that, most of the time you end up reading more than that. Trust me, once you start, you end up reading more than that. So that's one way to do it, one way to control, to be consistent and to keep yourself strong. Another, and also, by the way, even in your daily life, the little things that you do in your daily life, consistency is very important. When I went to Medina, to study at the university, I was only 18 years old, and I have 2 sisters, and so my 2 sisters, at home they did everything, so I don't know how to cook. By the way, I didn't even know how to crack an egg. Honestly. First time I cracked an egg was in Medina. And I said, whoa, what happened? Until my friend told me, he said, you crack a little bit like this, and then you pull it apart. And then I knew how to crack an egg. Trust me, I didn't know how to crack an egg. And I was a little bit spoiled, but my mother used to always clean my bed, do everything for me. That was the type of mother that I had. And my sister would do the cleaning, and I would try to be nice and kind and clean and wash the dishes once in a while, but then I would get yelled at. And so I'm washing the dishes, And then my mother comes, who washed the dishes? And I said, I don't know, I did. So why is there still soap on there? Right? And then she was like, you don't do that again. That's okay, I'm trying to help. And then, well, that's the type of person that, that's how I grew up. So now I'm in Medina, nobody's going to wash my dishes, nobody's going to clean my house, okay? And so I started realizing, it's getting dirty. My room is getting really dirty. So you know what I ended up doing? Okay, I said, I hate to clean. Yeah. And some of us, we hate to clean, right? Our cars, sometimes we start getting dirty. It's not like, I do love to clean. No. But the thing is, what did I do? I said, you know what? Every time I leave this room, when I come back, the first thing that I'm going to do for 3 minutes is I'm going to clean up. There's not a single time that I leave that door except I clean my room. 3 minutes. So this is what I ended up doing. Every time, even if I went to the bathroom, I would come back, clean my room for 3 minutes before I did anything else. And 3 minutes was not a lot. I ended up decreasing it to 1 minute. And 1 minute, you never say, oh man, 1 minute is so much. Right? But I ended up, this is what I did. Just 1 minute. Sometimes I would take longer than that. Do more because once you get, the hardest part is getting started. Once you start, it makes it easier. So usually, sometimes you end up cleaning more than 1 minute. But I got to the point where my room was so clean. My room was so clean that I had to look for dust. On my books, I'm like looking for dust. Because I don't have anything else to clean. And I still have a minute to clean. And I leave, I do it again, so I'm looking for dust somewhere. So it's super clean. But then I don't even feel like I put in a lot. But that's what consistency is. And that's why also, when I get my car also, before I used to look at my car, that Saturday was a cleaning day, clean my car and stuff like that. But then I said, I'm going to apply that also. So what I did was, every time, the rule in my house, or my car, is that anyone who's in my car, of course my family is not going to get guests to do this. If you leave my car, nobody leaves my car without taking 3 pieces of trash. Every time you take 3 pieces, you have to find at least 3 pieces. Right? You leave the car. And so what ends up happening is this. Some of my kids are in the back, they know that that's their ticket out. If they don't have 3 pieces, and so what we end up doing, the whole family, before we enter the supermarket, everyone goes to the trash can first. So it's like a little big family. Everyone's going to the trash, everybody throws their 3 pieces, then we all go to the store. Or whatever we're doing, wherever we're doing, the park, it doesn't matter. The first thing we're looking for is the trash can. Okay? So we go out. And my kids then, it ends up being, they start calling for the trash. What do I know they call for? They're sitting in the back, they got their seatbelt first, so they can't get the trash. And so they're telling, but I called that one, that means when he gets out, he got that one. So he doesn't have to look for it. He doesn't have to look for it. But that's what consistency is. You don't feel it, but if you're consistent in doing good deeds,